And so I'm curious, understanding the context of where you are, and I feel like I'm getting like a little undertone of what your goals might be. Do you want to kick off with the first goal?
Yeah, we should get to that. We're like 25 minutes into this episode. I haven't actually given a single
I'll keep
goal.
trying to push it. But awesome.
Nicely
context,
played.
great stuff.
That's the hurry up there.
Yeah, that was a little bit of tap up the bum going, come on, Charlie, let's.
All right. So goal number 1 of this year is actually to optimize each property in the portfolio. So rather than looking at potentially, trying to scale out from a volume point of view, this is something I think a lot of property investors overlook. We're going to go through each of our properties and see what opportunities exist with renovations and upkeep so that we can actually increase the cash flow on each property. Now, to give you an idea, if you could spend, let's say you could spend $100,000 on improving a property, but you were able to increase the rent, let's say $250, $300 a week because of that, that would be a move that I would be looking at. I think that's a really good idea to improve each property and have those properties be as optimum as they can so you've got a better quality property rather than just trying to get more. Now, the second layer to this is also making sure that each property is on the right financial product for them. So I've been working with my mortgage broker already a little bit because, as you've experienced yourself, Grant, is new financial products come out all the time. What if there was a way of changing the mortgage so that we could actually get the rate lower, or a new type of finance in a trust that offers some sort of difference that could be advantageous to us? So the balance between the actual upgrading of the property and upgrading of the finance that sits under each property is my number 1 goal for this year.
I love that. It's funny. So I love the upping the property. And it's funny looking at when I have done this at a smaller portfolio where I've got 3 properties and going for the 4th one now. And like you're sitting at what, like 11 properties, and you're now evaluating, going, well, if I can go and find $100,000 spend to go and get $200, $300, like this is the best way for me to continue growing this portfolio. Where I got to the point where I bought a place and I'm like, cool, lock it down. Oh my gosh, we can totally renovate the bottom floor. Let's do it. 25 grand in. Let's go and increase the rents by $100. Let's do this. And then after I finished it, I'm like, okay, cool. It was successful. And it's a 2.5 year, 3 year payoff, right? Which is I spent 25 grand. The way the rent increased, it will pay off the expenditure that I spent over 2 to 3 years. And in my hindsight, I'm sitting there going, man, I should have just waited because that 25 grand would have been better for another property.
Maybe. I will say maybe on that. And I just want to give people some numbers because you're looking at that through a very, very interesting lens. And I'm not sure if I agree with that.
I will. You share this, and I'll put my layer on top. Again, this is my opinion and my view.
All right. So for anyone playing at home, if you borrow $100,000 right now on a 30-year loan at 5%, which I'll just put it in at 6, just because who knows what rates will do. At 6%, if you borrow $100,000, that's $500 per month in interest cost.
Yep, 100.
So, yeah. Or if you're on principal and interest, it's actually $600 a month. So if you could invest into your own property and spend $100 grand and you could get the rent up, let's say $1,000 a month, you could actually make a good amount of positive cash flow on improving properties in that light. Severely underlooked strategy. It really is. And I made note of this after we did a little renovation to one of our properties, just how much we were able to get the rents up. So I just wanted to include that in there and the thinking that went behind why I would want to optimize properties in the idea that you could actually make them all each individually more profitable.
And it's funny because exactly the calculation that you did was going to be my next point on the renovation. So I did this renovation, got it revalued. So I expected to spend 25, reval increase of 50 grand and rent increase, and I just refinance out the increase. Right? No.
So what were the end numbers?
It was a 30 grand increase in value. But again, like at the time had been like 4 months anyway. So I don't know what of that 30 grand was the property itself increasing or just the renovation itself increasing. But like, I'm like, I just didn't refinance the cash out. I said, that's just not there. Like the numbers didn't make sense. Where in your point, if you were to go and get those numbers and you were able to refinance it out, I think that's perfect because, and this is my benefit of hindsight of going, you know what? That is now a strategy that when I get to call it 11 properties, $6 million, and I'm like, how do I improve this? I've already swung the bat. I swung the bat now. Like, it's not like I've got that bat to swing for that property anymore. Like, I'd have to do some other improvement, which maybe it might.
Yeah, so I'm gonna challenge this so hard.
And this, hey, this is why I've got a podcast. This
absolutely. So first off, how many valuations did you get done?
It was only once with one bank.
Case in point. So just knowing right now in my own experience, when I've had valuations done of the same property with different valuers, desktop versus in person, I suspect that money was sitting there. I'll just call it. Maybe relook at that.
It's funny. In these podcasts, like, you sound like such an optimist. I'm like this massive pessimist, and it's like not the way the world is.
Just saying. The second point I'll make there is, as you've increased the income on the property, right, and that it's gone up in value, you've actually lowered your LVR and increased your income. So it's actually increased your borrowing power elsewhere anyway.
Yeah.
So the equity thing is like an interesting one where I look at it, and you potentially can get, or could have gotten, I know sometimes past since then, the result you wanted out of that property, potentially. Definitely. But you do bring up this excellent point, though, because sometimes it's worth not doing a renovation till a later point if you're trying to do the accumulator. So for you now, and this is unsolicited advice at the highest level.
This is if you were me. Got it. Yep.
Totally. I look at it and go, if your goal is to acquire 4 properties this year, all you're going to do is acquire them. You're not going to do renovations or developments. Totally. You would come back around at a later point. And this is where, like, thinking of property investing in stages, I think, is really powerful as well. So if you are going to do an accumulator run, and I did mine, like I bought, 8 properties in, like, we'll call it 2 years. It was less than that, but roughly. To go on to that run is like we weren't coming back and doing the renovations and things in that light because we were just so busy getting ready for the next property and every cent into the next deposit. And to your point, playing the game of valuations. So we go, look at this valuation, we're in this position. So it's like that becomes the sport you're doing at that time.
All right, fellow property investor. If you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.